The pet food industry is worth more than $70 billion in the United States alone, and cat food is one of the fastest growing categories inside it. New premium lines launch constantly. Vets get bombarded with rep visits pushing the latest formula, and every bag in the aisle claims to be natural, holistic, or veterinarian recommended. The problem is that most of what's sitting on that shelf is built to look like nutrition, while actually being built around shelf life, manufacturing cost, and a label that sounds better than what's inside the bag. Cats are obligate carnivores with some of the strictest nutritional requirements of any common pet, and most commercial food is formulated to meet the bare legal minimum, not what your cat actually needs to thrive. Today, we're going through 8 cat food brands that are quietly failing your cat while charging you for the privilege, and 3 that are actually worth what they cost. Let's start with the ones doing the damage. Number 8, Friskies. Friskies is the entry point for most cat owners, and that's exactly the problem. The marketing leans on bright packaging, irresistible flavors, and a price point so low it feels responsible. What's actually inside most Friskies formulas is corn, wheat gluten, and soy positioned ahead of any named meat source on the ingredient list, with meat byproducts doing the heavy lifting where actual muscle meat should be. Cats don't process plant carbohydrates efficiently. Their bodies are built almost entirely around animal protein and fat. A formula loaded with grain fillers isn't dangerous in the sense of poisoning your cat overnight, but it is nutritionally hollow, and it's a major contributor to the obesity and diabetes rates veterinarians have been flagging in indoor cats for the past decade. At under $1 a can, Friskies isn't feeding your cat, it's filling your cat. Number 7, Meow Mix. Meow Mix built an entire brand identity around a jingle and a smiling cartoon cat, and that's telling you something. The original dry formula lists cornmeal, chicken byproduct meal, and ground yellow corn in the first 5 ingredients, with actual chicken nowhere near the top of the list. Dry kibble is already a poor match for a species that evolved getting most of its hydration from prey, and Meow Mix compounds that problem by stacking carbohydrate filler on top of a naturally low moisture format. The artificial colors used to make the kibble look appetizing serve the owner's eye, not the cat's nutrition. This is a brand engineered for the shopping cart, not the bowl. Number 6, Whiskas. Whiskas markets heavily on the idea of catering to a cat's natural preferences, with packaging built around 1+1 bisco and textures and flavor variety. The ingredient reality is a formula heavy in cereals, vegetable derivatives, and meat and animal derivatives, a category so vague under labeling regulations that it can legally include almost anything from a slaughterhouse that isn't muscle meat. Vague ingredient labeling exists for one reason. It lets a manufacturer swap in whatever animal byproduct is cheapest that quarter without changing the label. You're not buying consistency. You're buying whatever was cheap to source that month, dressed up in a bag that says gourmet. Number 5, Fancy Feast. This is the one that surprises people, because Fancy Feast spent decades building a reputation as the premium wet food option, the one step up from the bargain shelf. Look past the branding and most of the classic pâté line still lists meat byproducts and broth as primary ingredients, with added carrageenan, a thickening agent extracted from seaweed that's been the subject of ongoing scrutiny for digestive irritation in some animals. The fancy in Fancy Feast is doing the same job the Castle does for an overpriced cigar. It's signaling exclusivity on a product that's manufactured at the same industrial scale as the cheap stuff sitting 2 shelves down. Number 4, 9 Lives. 9 Lives leans entirely on nostalgia and price, positioned as the budget-conscious choice for owners feeding multiple cats. The formulas are dominated by corn, soybean meal, and animal byproduct meal, with synthetic vitamin packs added afterward to technically meet AFCO's minimum nutrient profile. Meeting the legal minimum is not the same as meeting what a cat needs to maintain lean muscle, a healthy coat, and stable energy. 9 Lives is formulated to pass a regulatory checklist, not to optimize anything. At this price point, you're not getting a deal. You're getting the absolute floor of what's legally allowed to be called cat food. Number 3. IAMS Proactive Health. IAMS carries more credibility than it deserves because of decades of veterinary clinic placement and a name that sounds clinical. The flagship dry formulas list corn gluten meal, and chicken byproduct meal stacked near the top of the ingredient panel, essentially the same carbohydrate-heavy architecture as the bargain brands, just with a more expensive font on the bag. Veterinary placement in clinics is a marketing channel, not a quality certification. Plenty of brands pay for shelf space and sample programs inside vet offices. The presence of a bag in a clinic waiting room tells you about a distribution deal, not about what's nutritionally inside it. Number 2. Special Kitty. This is Walmart's house brand, and it exists purely to compete on shelf price against name brands using nearly identical formulation strategy. Corn, wheat, and soy dominate the ingredient list. The protein sourcing is vague enough to rotate based on commodity pricing, and the entire product exists to be the cheapest visible option in a category where price anchors buying decisions more than any other factor. There's no story here, no farming relationship, no formulation philosophy. It's a private label built to undercut by a few cents, and the savings come directly out of nutritional quality. Number 1. Kit and Caboodle. Kit and Caboodle is built around one selling point, the different shapes, sizes, and colors gimmick, which is a marketing answer to a nutrition question nobody asked. The ingredient panel reads almost identically to the bottom shelf brands above it: ground yellow corn and corn gluten meal ahead of any named animal protein, plus a long list of artificial colors whose only function is making kibble look more visually interesting to the human buying it. A cat cannot see most of those colors the way humans do. The entire value proposition of this brand is a visual trick aimed at the wrong species. That's not a flaw. That's the whole business model. If you want more breakdowns like this every week, hit subscribe. No brand deals, no sponsored placements, just what's actually in the bag. Now, let's talk about the 3 brands actually worth what they cost. Number 3. Smalls. Smalls was built by a small team frustrated that fresh cat food barely existed as a category at a time when fresh human-grade food for dogs had already exploded, but cats had been left with the same shelf-stable kibble formulas for decades. Their recipes use human-grade meat as the first ingredient, formulated specifically around a cat's biological need for high protein and moisture, shipped fresh or freeze-dried, rather than processed at the extreme heat levels that strip nutrients out of traditional kibble. It runs more expensive than the brands above, generally in the range of $2 to $3 a day depending on your cat's size, but the ingredient list reads like something you'd recognize from your own kitchen rather than a chemistry textbook. The price reflects the meat in the bag, not a marketing department. Number 2. Ziwi Peak. Ziwi Peak comes out of New Zealand, where the company maintains direct relationships with farms, supplying free-range meat rather than buying commodity protein on the open market. The air-dried format preserves nutrient density without the ultra-processing that strips most kibble of what made the original meat valuable in the first place. Ingredient panels consistently lead with named muscle meat and organ meat, the exact opposite of the vague byproduct labeling running through most of the brands on the avoid list. It costs more per pound than almost anything on a grocery shelf, generally landing in the range of $2 per ounce, but ounce for ounce, it delivers far more usable protein than a bag of kibble that's mostly cooked grain. You're paying for meat, not for a logo. Number 1. Origin. Origin built its entire identity around a formulation philosophy called biologically appropriate, designed specifically around what a cat would eat in the wild rather than what's cheapest to manufacture at scale. The ingredient list leads with fresh and raw animal ingredients sourced from regional suppliers the company has worked with for years, and the carbohydrate content sits dramatically lower than virtually every brand on the avoid list because the formulation starts from the animal's biology instead of from a profit margin target. Origin runs expensive, often the most expensive bag on the shelf, but it's expensive because the recipe is built around what's biologically correct rather than what's cheap to produce, and that distinction is the entire difference between every brand on this list. Across all 11 brands, the pattern is identical. The brands failing your cat are formulated around cost efficiency and shelf appeal first, with nutrition treated as a regulatory checkbox to clear. The brands actually worth the money are formulated around the animal first, and the price simply reflects what that costs to do correctly. Your cat can't read the bag. It can only tell you what's working through its energy, its coat, and its health over the years you have together. Stop buying the packaging, start buying the ingredient panel, drop your cat's food brand in the comments. We'll tell you exactly where it lands.